morning and welcome to tonight's bulletin. You're watching TV47 Weekend with me, Ruth Mulandi. But before we get into the stories, here are the highlights. Tonight, Silale Ward MCA Nelson Lotella presents himself to DCI over the recent rise of insecurity in Kapedo, even as more police officers are deployed in the area. Also tonight, the Hustler versus Dynasty mantra continues to rule political conversations, even as fears linger that it is taking a dangerous turn. Plus, Uhuru Kenyatta joins Catholic faithful in marking 100 years of Loreto, Eastern Africa province. And tonight, we bring you a special interview with Jubilee Party Secretary General Raphael Tuju. Our sign language interpreter for tonight is Anne Wairemo. Now, as the 2022 succession politics take shape, leaders from the Mulembe Nation have been asked to unite in forwarding one candidate for the 2022 presidential elections. But even as Bungoma Senator Moses Wetangula confirms of such plans, will the Ford Kenya Party leader and ANC boss Musalia Mudavadi put aside their differences? Musa Sala explains.
Ford Kenya Party leader and Bungoma Senator Moses Wetangula has openly come out to support President Uhuru Kenyatta's opinion that Kenya's presidency cannot be in the hands of two communities alone. Speaking at the burial of former Bungoma County Trade Ministry Chief Officer Christine Wasike, Wetangula has asked communities living in Western Kenya to unite ahead of the 2022 general election.
Kenya ina makabila 44 na uongozi wa nchi hauwezi kusunguka kwa makabila mawili peke yake. Hiyo statement president alisema tukiwa kwa Musalia Mudavadi tukizika mamake ni changamoto kubwa kwa nyinyi jamii za Western Kenya, jamii ya Mulembe Nation, jamii ya Iteso, jamii ya Sabaot.
Come 2022 tunataka Mluya mmoja ndiye atakuwa presidential candidate. Hatutaki wawili, hatutaki watatu. And as a Luya nation we must get united before we go meet other communities.
With the Mulembe Nation's unity in turbulence, Kiminini Member of Parliament Chris Wamalwa has opposed claims that the Mulembe Nation politics is tribal, asking community leaders to come together to take their share of the national cake come 2022.
Wale wanatugawanyisha sisi kwa misingi ya kikabila na jamii, sio mwingine ni hawa wanaume wetu Waluya kutoka upande huu. Kwa sababu tukisema tufanyie kazi pamoja, kila mtu anaamuka anaenda huku na mwingine anaenda kule kwingine.
Wajaluo wakikaa pamoja hawasemi ni wakabila. Wakikuyu wakikaa pamoja hawasemi ni wakabila. Lakini sisi Waluya wakati tunakuja pamoja nasema ni ukabila. Na mwenye anasema ndio Muluya.
Na waomba tukuje pamoja na mimi nitachangia vilivyo kukuja kwa pamoja kwetu. Ili tuweze kushikana pamoja, tufanye urafiki na jamii zingine za Kenya na region zingine tukitafuta uongozi wa nchi.
Wetangula has however claimed that plans are underway to unite the vote-rich region, saying the decision by both Ford Kenya and Amani National Congress ANC not to compete against each other in Kabuchai and Matungu by-election is just the start.
Tayari tumekubaliana kuleta jamii zetu pamoja kwa kutopingana Kabuchai na Matungu kwa vyama vyetu vya ANC na Ford Kenya.
As once rival leaders from other communities put their heads together to solve the 2022 succession nightmare, all eyes are now on ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi and his Ford Kenya counterpart Moses Wetangula to see whether the Mulembe Nation bigwigs will join hands to forward one presidential candidate next year. Musa Salah, TV47.
Goshen Anointing Ministry Church in Naivasha was razed down by an inferno last night. It is still not clear what caused the fire, but investigations are pointing to an arson attack. Our reporter, Willie Dennis Njiru, has this story.
Debris of a former structure that stood as a place of worship now turned to ashes a day before a congregation of worshippers flock in.
Nyumba yote imechomeka, fiti sote, tulikuwa na fiti 100 na kitu, sote zimechomeka. Tulikuwa na amplifier kubwa sana.
Investigators are yet to say the actual cause of the fire. However, suspicious is rife about an individual who sought the service of a boda rider and dropped here a few minutes past 10:30 p.m.
Jana saa 4 na 23 nilibeba mtu kwa stage na akanielezea nimpeleke Banda, kuna club na kuna nyumba za kuishi. Sasa tulikuja tukafika kwa gate, kaniambia nisingoje tena. So alikuwa amenilipa, mimi nikageuka nikaenda. So sasa inaudhika kupata kuna nyumba zimechomeka hapo.
Injili haijafika mwisho, injili bado itaendelea na tutahubiri neno la Mungu hapa.
Hatutakata injili hata kama nyumba imechomwa, hatuna kitu sasa. But kesho tutaombea mahali hapa na tutaendelea.
Neighbors say the fire was an arson attack that was well orchestrated.
Nilisikia umbo inapiga kelele sana, kishindwa ni nini. Ka hesitate kutoka nje sababu kwetu kuna wanyama, mazebras. Hiyo ni normal. Lakini sasa vile nilitoka kuja nikapata flame imewaka kwa church.
Kijana wetu akatuita, katuambia kuna moto nje.
Hata tukiwapata hata tujue ni nani, hatuna maneno nao. Kunao mwenye nyumba na kunao mwenye zile vyombo ambazo zimeungua hapa.
And the clergy are not convinced otherwise. They say the place of worship has been violated greatly. Worshippers have become a torment to the clergy.
Ninajua kwamba maybe alifanya juu ya ignorance, ama amefanya kwa sababu ya wivu, ama amefanya kwa sababu alitumwa. Na jambo moja tu ningesema kwa ufupi ni kwamba kuna shida kwa wachungaji wenyewe wanatafutana. Mchungaji anaweza ona ya kwamba umefanya hii, anaweza fanya hii. So kitu mzuri ni kwamba wachungaji warekebishe njia sawa.
A similar incident happened in Kisii County on Thursday, raising more questions why arsonists are so bold to violate the sanctity of places of worship.
Watu walifanya hivyo. Mungu ako nao tu.
Na yule aliyefanya hiyo tendo, tunamuombea tu Mungu na tunamwachia Mungu.
Huyo mtu ningeomba sana kama anaweza kuja tumuombe. Jambo ile alitenda iweze kumuondoa kwa sababu ni laana kubwa sana.
Reporting for TV47 from Naivasha in Nakuru County, I'm Willie Dennis Njiru.
Silale Ward MCA Nelson Lotella has surrendered himself before the Directorate of Criminal Investigation DCI at the regional headquarters offices. The MCA has surrendered for grilling over claims of being in connection with the ongoing attacks at the North Rift region. Meanwhile, the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Teachers KUPPET is pleading with the Teachers Service Commission TSC to provide security for the teachers in Kapedo. Joan Minor reports.
Today marking the 7th day since the unprecedented security operations commenced in Kapedo at the borders of Baringo and Turkana counties, Silale Ward MCA Nelson Lotella presented himself to the Directorate of Criminal Investigation DCI to record statements over the recent rise in insecurity in Kapedo. This has come just a day after Rift Valley Regional County Commissioner George Natembea issued a stern warning to politicians inciting the community. Leaders said to be in connection with the breach of security in the region were ordered to present themselves to the DCI offices at the regional headquarters.
Wale watu wakiwajibika vizuri maana watu wanaheshimika. Hatuwezi kwenda kwanza kuhangaika tunasumbuana na watu huko. So tunataka hawa watu pia. Maana wasipojitokea saizi waanze kusort out maneno, we are going to expose them.
The Kenya Union of Post-Primary Teachers KUPPET has appealed to Teachers Service Commission TSC to provide security for teachers following the killing of a teacher and attack of Nginyang girls teacher who was shot by an arrow.
Teachers Service Commission should ensure that those teachers are safe. And they are safe right now if they are allowed to go back home and stay home until the security situation is restored in those areas affected.
As the security operations continue, a section of leaders from the region have continued castigating the attacks. The national government has been urged to bring sanity in the area.
Watu wanauawa tu kiholela. It's not fair. We are taxpayers, and I can say that for certain we are not happy the way deployment has been done in the North Rift. Watu wanauawa, unaona juzi vile watu waliuawa, polisi pia wakauawa. So now kama polisi inaweza kuuawa, na sasa raia itakuwaje?
Humanitarian crisis is looming as residents in insecure areas flee. Some pockets of Kapedo are now ghost towns, and it is not clear when the standoff between the bandits and the police will come to an end. Joanne Maina, TV47.
KOTU Secretary General Francis Atwoli has urged Kenyans to shun the hustler versus dynasty narrative that has continuously been fronted by Deputy President William Ruto, warning that it could split the country into two. This as Deputy President William Ruto's remarks yesterday that the 2018 handshake between President Uhuru Kenyatta and opposition chief Raila Odinga has derailed the government's agenda for the country, continued to cause a stir among leaders allied to Odinga. David Mudhoka reports.
It is at the final journey of Mama Dina Isendi Muchelule, mother to Justice Agri Muchelule in Kisero, Kakamega County, where KOTU Secretary General Francis Atwoli appealed to Kenyans to fend off the hustler versus dynasty narrative that has continuously been fronted by Deputy President William Ruto, saying it is a recipe for starting divisions in the country.
Hustler is a dangerous narrative. It's a dangerous narrative.
Atwoli further called on mourners to hold Ruto to account over his alleged divisive politics ahead of next year's general elections, while rooting for ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi to succeed outgoing President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Na msisuie William kwa kaunti ya kabila yake. Mumzuie kwa kaunti ya siasa zake. Siasa zake sio sawa.
Look for the right leadership, and I can tell you I'm one of those that will qualify for that.
Musalia mumpatie nafasi. Na wenzake muwapatie nafasi.
In the ship going to the jetty.
Miles away at the Kisumu port, where African Union High Representative for Infrastructure Development in Africa and ODM party leader Raila Odinga was launching the dredging of Lake Victoria, leaders accompanying Raila also condemned Ruto for claiming that the 2018 handshake between President Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga has been at the center of Jubilee Party's failed promises.
The handshake was supposed to provide stability, peace and tranquility so that the Jubilee administration can do their work. But when you run ahead of the global calendar, in 2018 you are in 2022, in 2019 you are in 2022, then you will not know what is going on.
The leaders citing the launch of the dredging exercise as part of the fruits of the handshake.
Anybody therefore who says that they don't see the benefit of BBI in Kisumu, we have not only seen it but experienced it.
The push and pull pitting Ruto and ODM leaders clearly setting the stage for what is expected to be an intense race for 2022. David Mudhoka, TV47.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has urged Kenyans to follow the example of the Loreto missionary sisters who have transformed the lives of many through their investments in the education sector. Uhuru was speaking in the centenary mass celebrations of the Loreto sisters in the East Africa.
Attending the centenary mass celebrations of the Loreto East African province, President Uhuru Kenyatta, who is an alumni of the Loreto schools, has urged Kenyans to follow the example of the Loreto missionary sisters who have transformed the lives of many through their investments in the education sector.
The contribution of the Loreto sisters in our nation
include a president standing before you, bishops who have just preached and others not present, scientists, leaders in government, academia, legal minds, captains of industry, entrepreneurs, sportsmen and women. And Loreto's training has contributed immensely to the creative and performance arts, to politics, to governance, to religion, to environmental protection, community service, among many fields.
Further, the head of state has assured the sisters of his government's approval and support on the construction of a Loreto school in Kilifi County that will accommodate 500 girls.
To ensure that we do not have any interference or threat of disposal or alteration of this success, I today hereby direct the Ministry of Lands and Physical Planning, jointly with the Ministry of Sports, Culture and Heritage, to ensure that the land occupied by Loreto Convent Musangari remains in the hands of the Loreto sisters.
Some of the prominent alumni of the Loreto schools include the late Nobel laureate and environmentalist Professor Wangari Maathai, educationist Eda Gashukia, Lady Justice Joyce Olwoch, Lady Justice Njoki Ndung'u, journalist Julie Gishuru and consultant Tina Njonjo. Zainab Mohammed, TV47.
And that story takes us now for a short break, but we will be right back with more stories.
When the clock strikes 7:30 p.m. every Monday, it means it's time for...
The biggest challenge of starting a business in Kenya is the layers of licenses you need to pay.
The Grind. We tell you the do's and don'ts of business.
But the biggest fear was whether I'm going to make it in business or whether I'll lose my 150,000.
I say business is not about how much capital you have.
The Grind, every Monday at 7:30 p.m. It's been an amazing year in the kitchen here on The Throwdown. We brought you ugali and brown fish by Sophia. The tasty butter chicken from the classic Mayura restaurant. And the sweet Oreo cake dessert by Lillian. This year, we bring you bigger and better from more mouth-watering meals, kitchen hacks, restaurant reviews, and even street foods. Tune in to The Throwdown every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Na hata meno. Sonadol Extra. You Stories.